All right, good afternoon, everybody. If anybody catches this live or catches the recording later, glad to have you stop in and watch. I'm Jeff from JBNet Treasures, and JBNet Treasures is my YouTube channel for reselling, but I'm only live streaming into my Facebook group, which is the Resell Treasure Hunters. If you catch this on a video somewhere, we'll look that up. And we've got Chris Cisluna with us today, as always, for Two Guys Reselling. Chris, what all you got going on?
Oh, you know me. I've always got something cooking. Earlier today, I was at a storage auction. Unfortunately, it was only a lot of large furniture, a lot of large office furniture. So not what I'm looking for reselling, but I did have a good time.
Sure. It was a live auction?
Yeah, it was live. We were there on the lot at the storage facility. They had the auctioneers there, and it was pretty cool.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Just so everybody knows, you can find Chris over on YouTube as well. And within my Resell Treasure Hunters, you don't have a Facebook group of your own, right? Well, yeah, you do. You got
I
Success
do.
with Chris. Yeah,
Hmm.
Success with Chris. Sorry, almost
No, it's
forgot.
okay. Don't even worry
Yeah, you
about
can
it.
find Chris over there as well. So that's awesome that they had an outdoor or a live unit auction. The COVID pretty well put a stop to all that while it was hot and going on. But a lot of the storage unit places were already switching into or had switched to more of the online auctions. I guess they felt like they could get more eyes on it, get better prices out of it, which sometimes they do. But yeah, that's cool that you had a lot. Was there a lot of people?
Yeah, there's about 30 people there.
Cool. Did they have an
Yeah.
actual auctioneer doing it, or was the owner of the units doing it?
I want to say it was an actual auctioneer.
Okay.
Yeah, they
Yeah, several I've watched or that I've went to have just been the owner just does it.
hmm
A lot of times saves them money paying the auctioneer, right?
I guess so, but a really good auctioneer, they know how to work the crowd and get a much higher price.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
In fact, when you go and you're looking for a company, whether they're into estate sales or whether they're into the auction style liquidation, they will give you a chart that shows you the potential increase you would get in your pricing have you gone with them.
Yeah, definitely. They know how to. That's what they're there for. That's how they make their money. They are salespeople. Um,
Hmm.
that's what they do. I was just looking over at my Facebook group, and I'm not seeing us live over there. I don't know what's up with that.
Oh, Jeff, I don't see any of your stations here. You got to come
Don't see any
over.
of my what?
Here we go. Hang on for a
It
second,
just
Jeff.
Yeah, it just went through.
Okay. I see your Facebook channel.
Sorry, folks. Anybody catching up with this? Still learning how to use this system. I am more so than Chris. And quite honestly, I wasn't ready today to get. I've been catching up from.
It happens, man. Last week I almost missed it just because I was stuck in
Yeah,
traffic.
stuck in traffic.
And it wasn't
So
like a
true.
rush hour thing, it was an actual accident that they were clearing off. So I got pretty lucky. You should see it now. Refresh your page.
Refreshing again. Yeah. There we go. It's there
There
now.
you go.
Well,
Okay.
anybody watching that'll have to catch up. All right, good deal. So
Mhm.
yeah, sourcing is our topic today, and Chris is talking about going to an actual live storage auction, which there's just not that many, or at least not in my area. Maybe they're becoming more open again out your way. with the population and everything out there California has. Occasionally, we have one in a little town about 30 minutes away, but yeah, pretty much everything I do auction storage unit wise is all online. Um, Either storagetreasures.com, and I think there's another one that I watch occasionally, but storage unit auction buying is fun, no doubt about it. It's a lot of hard work, depending unless you're smart on how you buy. I've I really don't buy big units anymore. When I buy, I'm looking at the smaller stuff. Um, just number one, because most of the time I'm doing it by myself. Number two, um, is that it's just like you said, it's the type of stuff that we sell. We don't necessarily go out looking for furniture and so forth. The last unit that I bought was a fairly good size 10 by 20. It had furniture in it. Um, I still got a couple items in there to get rid of to sell. So I've actually started putting more of our bigger items in there just to get things out of the way, especially as I brought stuff back up from Florida this last week. And that was all bigger items, appliances and stuff. So I'm glad I had that 10 by 20 to put some stuff in.
All right. So, Jeff, has anyone ever asked you the question, why reselling rather than any other way to make money online? Why did you choose reselling?
I can't say I can remember anything specific being asked that question. I see it all the time in the groups, different things, but a couple of the people that I've mentored under have probably asked that question in a roundabout way, and for me, it's just the thing that I've liked to do. After being online and checking out a lot of different online opportunities over the years, this is what keeps kind of coming back. And I mentioned it in our very first video. Chris made that two guys reselling logo up there, and that arrow coming around that just reminded me exactly of what we do. We come back around full circle to reselling being our main business, our main income, and reasons why we like it. It's just I don't know. It's just that some people like it, some people don't. Just like you got to go out there and try different stuff and figure out what you enjoy doing the most. So is that about the same for you?
Almost. I mean, you're close, dancing around it a little bit. But for me, I'm a little bit more like specific. I whenever I spend time on anything, I have a list of pros and cons about it. And with reselling, there were a lot more pros for me than cons. For instance, anyone who's ever tried internet marketing, you build a lead capture page, you put it out there, and you try to get people to sign up to your subscriber list, and you're working on it for years and years and years before you see any real income coming through there. With reselling, I worked on it for about, I want to say 12 days. And then suddenly the sales started to roll in. The minute, Jeff, you told me to keep it $20 and under, especially in the beginning, that was magical for me. Every time I made a sale, my phone would make a cha-ching noise, and it would be such a rush that I became addicted, and I very soon realized that I could monetize my collections, comic book collections, action figures, models. I could monetize Comic-Con every single year. Reselling makes monetizing what you love insanely easy. It's just, yeah. So for me, that's what it continues to be. You ever go on a shopping binge and you're like, oh, I shouldn't have bought all that stuff. I'm going to get yelled at. But with reselling, you just resell most of it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, in fact, this trip down to Florida, in between doing stuff we had to do for the family stuff, it was a shopping binge, and you bring it all back, sort it all out, figure out what you got, and if if you choose correctly while you're sourcing, then you're going to make some money. I forgot about that $20 item per item tip from way back then, but yeah, I think the typical resell eBay, especially, your money is in the $20 to $35 range. That's where majority of the purchases are made. Um, sure, you're always going to have that extra $100 one or even $1,000 one on occasion, but yeah, all the meat and potatoes is in that twenty to $40 range.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yeah. $20 is high enough so that you have a chance to make a $10 profit, but it's also low enough so that if you haven't yet developed a very strong um, reputation on eBay. So let's say you're within your first 90 days of selling, you don't have a very high user rate, you haven't made, or you're not even qualified to make top rated plus yet. So the customers who are looking at your stuff, even though your stuff looks wonderful, they're not too sure. But if you have something on there for $15, yeah, they'll risk $15. What could it hurt?
Yep,
Right.
absolutely, absolutely. The trick to the sourcing part of that is understanding that number. Now, I will have to say we may see that number go up a little bit because cost of living has driven prices up quite a bit with shipping, all your back end stuff that you have to take care of, shipping supplies, actually going out and sourcing in different locations, depending on where you go as far as what the prices you're going to have to pay. You're being, you know, the market has changed, so that $20 window, the customers are still wanting to pay that level, but they may be forced, if they actually want an item, they may be forced to pay higher because we have to charge a little bit more.
Yeah, that is true. So Jeff, how do you do it? And what I mean by it is, how do you know what's going to sell, what's not going to sell? Because I think that's what has most people scared. They don't want to end up with a garage full of stuff that nobody wants and have nothing but debt left over.
Right? Yeah, you see that in the groups on Facebook quite a bit. New people, or they say that they're new. Hey, I'm a new seller. What am I supposed to be looking for? Can you give me some ideas of what to look for? And I suppose my generic answer, and I know you've got one that you use as well quite often, but my generic answer would be what's the market need right now? And there's certain ways that you go about figuring that out. I mean, we always tell beginner sellers, let's take a look around the house and see what you have of value. Just like you talked about, you realized you could start selling your collectible items that you didn't want to keep anymore. You could go ahead and move them out, make some money back off of them. So we always want to start there just to give somebody a good idea of how to start the process. And if they have a niche category area that they're already knowledgeable in, if somebody is a shoe person, they just they know a lot about shoes, or somebody is a Star Wars over my shoulder collector, and they know a lot about Star Wars. I bring that up because somebody posted a couple of action figures. It would have been from Return of the Jedi series, and I had never seen this character before. Animan, I think was the name of it. Anaman. Look it up when you get time. But I'd never seen this character before. I'm like, okay, now I gotta go back and watch Return of the Jedi and try to figure out what scene this thing was in. Was it in the palace or whatever? But the idea is that you know a lot about a certain collectible item, and you can start there to start selling. But you really got the learning curve with reselling is to start figuring out what the market wants right now. And the only way you can do that is by learning how to read. When you go out and look for stuff, don't buy it until you look it up on eBay or other reselling apps, eBay being the biggest one, to look and say, a lot of these listed, how many are selling? Or are they all sitting? If there's 5,000 of them listed, only 500 of them have sold in the last 90 days, probably not a good idea to buy that. If there's something that is 500 listed and 300 to 600 have sold, yeah, that's probably a good one. Right now, that is an item that the market is looking for. Now, I went about this in a real big, long way, Chris.
Mhm.
What is your answer to that question?
So for me, the beginning was easy because if you have something you already own, then throwing it up and seeing what you can get for it is sometimes a lot of fun. But when you're out in the world and you're looking at all this stuff that you could potentially buy, all of a sudden the pressure's on you. It's like you're on stage and you think everybody's watching you and your heart quickens. And are you going to buy it? Are you not going to buy it? And I just do what you said earlier. I whip out my phone. I open up my eBay app. I hit that little thing in the search that says it's going to scan the barcode. And I scan the barcode on the item and see what I can get for it. How much is it selling for on eBay? And how many people are selling it? And what are they asking for versus what it actually sold for? And you can do that. You just go into the advanced search and toggle the finished or the sold listings. And you want to hit the sold listings button and not the ended listings button, because listings end without being sold all the time. Because if 1,000 people are trying to sell the same item, and in the last 90 days only 2 or 3 of them sold, don't buy it. Seriously, don't buy it, because it's going to sit up there and just wait and wait and wait and wait. There's no demand for the item. What gets a lot of people is when they scan it and there's no data in eBay. They scan it, no one's selling it, and no one sold it in the past 90 days. What do you do? So I kind of use my common sense and say, is this something I'd like to add to my collection in case it doesn't sell?
Good way to look at it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And is it cheap enough? Is it cheap enough? Because
take a shot at. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Because if it's, if you're looking at spending $10 on a what if, that is not a good idea. It's not.
Yeah, but if you're at a garage sale or yard sale and they're saying, "Oh, it's 50 cents or a buck," then sure, you may have found an item that nobody else figured out will sell. Mm-hmm. So go ahead and throw it up there and see what happens.
That's exactly right. Now I'm going to throw a tax tip out there. Please check with your certified accountant. I am not an accountant. I'm not certified. I am not a financial expert. But that being said, keep track of how much money you spend on some of this stuff, because there are some things, no matter what you do, that just won't sell. And you keep a running tab on what you've paid for these items that won't sell no matter what you do. And I'm talking, you've bundled them with other items, you've offered to give them away free, you're stuck with it. Take it to Goodwill. And a lot of times when it comes to writing the receipt, they'll ask you, what do you think this is worth? You look at the number on what you spent on the inventory. It's only what you spent on the inventory, not the retail value of what you think you can get. That's a huge mistake. At the end of the year, you just add it up to your charitable donations. And it's a decent way to reclaim some of that money.
Absolutely, yeah. Sorry, don't know where I was going, but yeah, definitely good advice. And just the whole idea. It's hard to do when you're walking, especially if you're finding something you think that you like and it's kind of cool looking. And I know I've done it. It's hard to say, nope, not showing anything on eBay. I don't have time for that right now. I've got other stuff I've got to find that does sell. Back on the shelf it goes. Or walk away from it at the garage sale or the flea market or wherever it is that you're picking that item up from. It's you got to condition yourself a little bit. You got to be mentally tough, because in the beginning, and even after you've had some experience, you've had some success selling some stuff, you get a little bit of a chip on your shoulder. Oh, I can make that sell. I can make it work. And then you end up stuck with it. I think my wife, we were talking about moving stuff around and getting rid of this and getting rid of that. And she said something about, well, I know you've got stuff up there. It's been up there for years. It hasn't sold yet. I said, well, that's the stuff that's not listed. That's why that's listed.
That's actually a really good point that you just made, Jeff, because
sure. It's not going to sell if you don't.
Exactly. If it's not listed, it's not going to sell. If you have something that's been sitting on a shelf for whatever, and it's not listed and you're just hanging out doing stuff, maybe take some time and get that stuff listed. You'd be surprised at how much money you could make.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I seen I don't follow him anymore. I've lost track of his YouTube channel, but he sold a lot on Amazon anyway, but he sold on eBay too. But one of his videos was just grabbing stuff in the drawers and around on the shelves that were around his work area that were just sitting there. He said, okay, let's see if we can make $100 today just off of the stuff that was sitting there that was not listed. Intended to get to pile it piles up. And so that's definitely something to keep in mind as you get into reselling, because all of a sudden you become a little bit of a hoarder for some people. And the little stuff is what piles up, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh man, I got to clear some workspace out here, get this stuff out of here, clean off a couple of shelves, and I got room for something else. So
yeah, that is true. That's one of the things I love about reselling so much is if you need more money, you just have to put up more listings.
Yeah. Correct listings.
Well, good. Yeah, I mean,
we'll tackle listings on another chat today. We're talking more about sourcing and so forth.
Yeah, I don't have the pictures available right now, but I sold this doll one time. A friend of mine said, "Can you sell this?" And it came in like a little shoebox, and it looked very antique, like maybe it could have come from the Civil War era. But it was hard to authenticate anything on it because it was so dirty. It was in dirt. It's because I have no other word for it. There was this dirt-like substance matted in the dress and the doll's hair. It was an ugly doll. It looked like something that was used in a horror movie. And the thing smelled like damp earth. It had an odor to it. I threw it up on eBay as an auction. It sold for $25 plus shipping. They loved the doll. They said it was the scariest thing on their shelf. They're going to keep it forever.
Yep. Some people, they like that spooky different stuff. Yeah.
I mean, you never know sometimes you never know what's going to sell or for how much until you just take a couple of pictures of it and throw it up.
Yep.
That was messed up. I never thought it would sell.
Yeah. It's not doing you any good sitting there taking up space. So go ahead, throw it up there for a while, see if it sells. If it doesn't, then get rid of it, donate it, trash it, whatever. Whatever you got to do. I remember when you and I first started selling with Amazon, doing our drop shipping days, they would challenge us sometimes to go find that unique or different wild piece. And I remember one of the ladies that we worked with, there was some kind of a purse that was shaped like a chicken. It was a woman's purse shaped like a rubber chicken, and she threw, just out of curiosity, she threw that thing up there and sold a handful of them because you were able to get them drop ship and you were able to get the quantity, more of the quantity. But so yeah, crazy stuff. It happens.
Mm-hmm. All right, so now it's time to share some of our sourcing secrets.
Uh-oh, look out.
Do you have any sourcing secrets, Jeff?
Sourcing secrets, I would say you've got to. It's another part of the learning curve with reselling. You're going to find some niche things that, I mean, there's a lot of people that thrifting. Going to thrift stores is the only thing they. A lot of people do storage auctions. That's just about all they do is storage auctions because there's so much of it, so much stuff. That's about all they have time for. Garage sales, yard sales are a common for just about every reseller out there. You're online, you can do some online sourcing and stuff like that. The secret to it comes right back around to like anything else, is the consistency and understanding that sourcing is your money. That you can't make money if you don't have items to sell. So you've got to. The secret to sourcing is getting out there and learning, finding the stuff, finding the strategy that you are comfortable with, that is actually making your money for you. And that's it. Sometimes it is a hit and miss situation. Comes back around to, what do I source? The big question. What am I supposed to go buy? Well, again, we talked about that. If you're knowledgeable in an area, then that's some stuff that you want to start looking for. You need to get on eBay and see if that kind of stuff sells. And then you can go out and start looking for it. Where are you going to find it at? If you're looking for sporting goods items, if you're looking for vintage items, if you're looking for clothing, like I do a lot of clothing, I go to the thrift stores more often because those stores typically have some of the stuff I'm looking for. So the secret to sourcing starts with, what are you going to sell? And make sure it's a sellable item. And then determine where is it the most plentiful. I've told Chris this 100 times and other people. I would prefer to sell golf all day long. My area where I live, golf is not, other than clothing and some accessories on occasion, golf equipment's hard to come by. So I had to change. I had to make a change, a switch to my sourcing so that I could maintain a daily level of sales going out. Stuff coming in to list, stuff going out to sell and ship. So that's where, again, long way around that, but that's my answer to that question.
All right, cool. A few of my secrets, the big thing, especially for people who are just starting out, you might be asking yourself, okay, what am I really knowledgeable in that translates into stuff I can sell online? And some of you might say, nothing. I'm knowledgeable in nothing. So then you just have to ask yourself, what do you really like? What do you really enjoy doing? What is something you never, ever get bored with? And those are the areas that you should concentrate on selling. If you love books and you can't get enough of books, then you should concentrate on trying to resell books and becoming a book expert. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, if all you're doing is trying to sell stuff to make a profit and you don't really care about any of it, it's just going to be another job. Granted, yeah, it's a job you can do from your home, but you're going to resent it and hate it and look to replace it. So really sell what you love. Like clothing, Jeff brought up clothing earlier. If you're not into clothing, if you don't care about style, fabric, colors, what anyone is wearing, what was popular last year versus what's popular this year, don't get into clothing. It'll be tedious and drive you nuts.
Yep.
Now, if you are going to get into clothing because that's your thing, and you're at the uh, thrift stores, bring a black light, a Tide pen, and a little nail brush. The reason why is because there's going to be stains on the clothing that you're not going to be able to see underneath those lights in the store. They're normally dimly lit, and it's hard to see stains. You whip out that black light and you just run it down the fabric real quick, you'll see the stains, and you'll never make the mistake of buying something stained again.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you do see like a mark on the shirt, that's where, and it's not going to scrape off with your fingernail in it, trying to scrape it off. Pull out your Tide pen, put a little bit of that on it, and brush it with that nail brush. If the stain doesn't disappear, it's permanently stained. Another thing is, I do not sell any clothing unless it has a tag on the inside. The tag that says the size of it, and the tag that says what material it's made out of. And the reason being is I've sold clothing without tags before, and they always come back to me. They always get returned for various reasons. I didn't like the way it looked on me. It doesn't fit right. Oh, I don't like the way the fabric felt. But normally, if you even though I have the size, I still put the measurements of the item. But without the tags, people get really weird. They want to see the information on a tag. So if you're looking at something and you think it's stylish and you're going to buy it to resell, but it doesn't have the tags in it, walk away.
Yeah, definitely. The on the clothing line of that, you've got to be very detailed. I mean, you want to be detailed in anything that you sell, but clothing can get pretty nitpicky pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like Chris said, it becomes a a job. It becomes a grind. And I mean, to be successful in anything, you got to grind it out regardless. So you got to do the work that's involved to do it to make it happen. But if you don't like it, any part of it, then yeah, that's gonna be really tough on you. So pick a category, a niche, and you may have to switch it up. I've switched up from trying to do just straight golf to trying to do just collectibles and stuff like that. And I found that I can sell a lot of men's clothing fairly decent, and I enjoy doing it because it's stuff that I would wear that I like. But I've also wrapped that around with some of the other things that we like to do. Collectibles such as Star Wars and golf for sports and things like that. So you have some different categories, and you learn, become an expert in one as much as you can first is the biggest thing, because then once you become the expert in one and you've got daily sales going on, you're hitting your sales goals, you're hitting some money goals. The other stuff you can add on as kind of accessories to the niche that you're the expert in, and you'll slowly become an expert in those categories as well over time. Um, Locations, or what do you think, Chris? And maybe you've got another question. That's fine. What's the main sourcing places that you use at this time, if you're willing to put that out there?
Yeah, I'm kind of an animal, so I'm all over the place. But I do regularly estate sales, thrift shops, garage sales, um, any type of like rummage sale. Like a lot of times, the church will, different churches out here will get together their communities, and they have like a sale with all the proceeds going to the church. Those are absolutely amazing because you will find the very best stuff, and it's marked down unbelievably. Like I've gone through, uh, I would have to say a couple hundred church rummage sales, and I've never once had to haggle with the price because the pricing is always just out of this world. Like
Yeah.
brand new in the box, sheepskin boots with the sole. They weren't Uggs. They were a different brand, but they were 100% sheepskin. I bought them for $5, resold them for $40.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a church rummage sale. So
Yep.
if you can find them, travel for them, because I drop a lot of money and usually come away with good stuff. Another good area that I don't think a lot of people are doing enough of is things that are marked on clearance at stores like Walmart, Target, Ross Dress for Less. These are great places to get stuff that have UPC numbers on it, and you can use in your listing so they hit Google Shopping as well. It's just a great traffic source. A lot of times these places will put things on clearance. And if you're there like I am, I like to be there early in the morning, so I can see what they marked down from the previous night and really take a good look at it. The store's not very crowded. I can take my time, have my phone, scan the different items and make sure there's enough room in there for me to make a tasty profit. But I mean, I've gotten, those big, like they're like $65 Lego kits. These were various ones. There was some Harry Potter in there. There was, I want to say, some DC kits in there, and they were all giving them away for like $10 a piece. And I was selling those things right at about $40, plus shipping all day long. It was amazing. It was a great find.
For those that don't know, the technical term for what Chris is talking about is retail arbitrage.
Mm-hmm.
If you want some big words thrown in there. And there's some good apps and tools out there available to help you locate markdown items in different retail stores like that too. I know was it last year? I think David, our friend Dave, and I were talking about it, and he was better at finding the items than I was, much quicker at it than I was. But he led me to, I don't know, a handful of video games. And there were like $50 video games that had been marked down to $5, and they still had like 3 or 4 of each of them. And so I was able to get in there and grab those. And the person opening up the cabinet to get games out for me is like, "Wow, how'd you know these were down here? I didn't even know these were down here." I said, "Yeah, I can't give away trade secrets." So, we just happened to come across the right SKUs they were just trying to clear them out of there to get them out of the way for the next season's stuff, probably. So,
no, that's actually absolutely right.
Yeah.
Retail shelf space is very, very, very expensive. So if they have, 6 inches of retail shelf space where the products aren't moving, and they've got trailers out in the back filled with stuff that needs to go on the shelf, they usually mark stuff down below cost. And those are the really juicy bargains.
Yep. And don't be afraid if you go out looking for stuff clearance. You may find some clearance tags on there that maybe it's only a couple bucks. It's been knocked off, $5, something like that from the original price. Scan it. Either have an app on your phone or go over to the scanning thing in the store. Have one of the associates check it for you, because a lot of times the markdown was what they put a sticker on, but it's actually been marked down in the system even further, which is why I found the $5 video games for $50 a piece, and Chris found some stuff for $10 he was able to sell for 40 and things like that. Just because the sticker's on there doesn't always mean that's what they're charging for it. Go ahead and scan that to see where you're at. For sure.
Okay, but if you're in Walmart, you're going to want to scan it with the Walmart app to get the real price on it.
Yeah, you got to have the store app.
Exactly. You have to have the store app. Don't scan it with your eBay app and say, "Hey, this is cheaper on eBay." They won't help you out with that, man. No. They won't do it.
No, and a lot of times that's even sometimes. In fact, I scanned something the other day. It was like, oh man, that's a bummer, because on eBay they were selling for less than what they were selling for in the store, and the store price was what's going to be. So I think that was Walmart down in Florida last week, actually.
Nice.
So that does happen too, and you have to wonder where do these, everybody always asks the question, especially newer sellers, where do these people get these things that they can sell for $5 and make money off of them? Well, they're wholesaling. They're buying in bulk from somebody. They've got permission to buy this stuff from somebody. So a lot of times you may see prices that you can't compete with, and it is what it is. So
and there are a lot of
don't worry about the other guy's price. If you've got it, if it's the same item and it's selling, and you can put a good listing together with it, it's probably still going to sell for you too. Price doesn't always mean everything.
Exactly, because I hear a lot of people complaining about sellers who are from China putting up prices that nobody can compete with because they're the factory that's manufacturing the item.
Mm-hmm.
Don't concern yourself with that. Most people don't want to wait 2 weeks for their item. So chances are they're going to pay you a few dollars more and get it in a few days rather than get it for the cheapest price they can and wait 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Don't let that slow you down. Just keep working on finding the items that are selling, that are in the categories that you want to sell in. I know some sellers, YouTube sellers that I watch, because they're in Michigan. They're in the same kind of market area that I'm in, and they started off selling a little bit of everything, and they were doing pretty well with kitchenware type stuff, pots and pans. They were learning the brands and making decent money off of that, but they were also dabbling in clothing and shoes and a few other things. And they finally figured out, for them to really go big and have a big inventory of stuff coming in all the time, to keep getting it out, shipped out, was their most reliable source for their area was thrifting and buying clothing in bulk and shoes. So they moved themselves into more of a clothing and shoe type business, and they've actually went real big. They've got a warehouse situation, and some employees now and stuff like that. But that's something else you got to take into consideration as you're selling, is what is in your area of the items that you want to sell. How accessible are they? You may have to, which I've done, I've backed off of golf equipment, golf clubs, but I'm finding that I can sell golf clothing and sell golf accessories easier, and in finding the golf clubs to sell. When I find the golf clubs, it's great. They're much more profitable, and things like that, than what a $10 or $12 shirt is. When you're talking about $100 to $200 to $300 golf club, or bigger, whatever. But if you can, you just got to adjust. You got to tweak. You got to, as you learn and as you grow, then your sourcing spots that you use are going to become more apparent, and you're going to be able to strategize your week and your schedule with, okay, I got to make sure I get to this thrift store. I got to do this to get to this sale, estate sale or whatever. Work your schedules around to make sure that you're getting to those places.
Yep. And quantity counts. So if you're in your local town, and your local town has 2 Walmarts and 4 thrift stores, and you wake up early on a Saturday morning and you hit those 2 Walmarts and 4 thrift stores and thinking that you're going to make $1,000 a day, you are wrong. You're going to fail because you don't have enough sources.
Yep.
I have around 65 different places I will hit in any given 10-day period. So if you really want to sell in volume, you got to be where people are selling their stuff. And it's so important that you don't go to just one Walmart, but you go to 10 Walmarts. You don't just shop at the places in your town. You go over 2 or 3 counties maybe, just to get at the really, really good stuff. I go to I'm in Orange County right now. And as you guys know, Orange County isn't very urban. There are some urban areas, but they're smaller. And especially the town I live in, Mission Viejo. It's just a sleepy little suburb with just a few thrift stores, a few Walmarts. And if I kept all of my shopping in this one town, I would have failed years ago. I mean, there's no way I could sustain it. There's no way. But I go out. I go out to Long Beach, Los Angeles, San Diego. I'm talking about the counties, not just the individual cities. Because in each county, there's all these little cities, and that's where I get the good stuff. Like uh what's that place? Stanton, California. That's where I go to buy my stuff from Goodwill in bulk by the pound.
Yeah,
That's
the bins.
the bins, man. Oh my god, you wouldn't even imagine. Like 40% of the stuff I got, new with tags. New with tags.
Nice,
In the
nice.
bin.
Yeah, they're throwing them away. You know.
$2 a pound.
Yeah.
And it's just, you'd be surprised how many pounds, how many t-shirts are in a single pound.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, because the normal T-shirt that I sell weighs around anywhere between 10 to 12 ounces on average, I would guess.
For a t-shirt?
Yeah, for most of them, 10 ounces. Well, maybe 5 to 10. Maybe I'm thinking averaging and everything.
Yeah, I'm thinking anywhere from 5 for a t-shirt.
Yeah,
anywhere.
Yeah, just a plain regular T-shirt. I sell too many polos and sweatshirts to get my numbers mixed up.
Yeah, now the sweatshirts are heavier.
Sure. Yeah, well, yeah. Sweatshirts and small jackets and stuff, you're over a pound per item at that point. So did go into the bins, do you pull much out in hard goods, or is it normally just clothing when you're there for that?
I try to get kind of an equal amount of both. So if I got like $300 in my pocket, I try to get like $150 in clothing and $150 in the hard goods. But it's a little bit harder with the hard goods because a lot of it is out of the box or damaged. So you really got to be careful and really look at what you're buying. But one time, heck, I got this, all of these McDonald's toys. They're from McDonald's and Carl's Jr. And it was this like huge wooden crate just filled with them. And I'm looking at it and I was like, how much for the crate? And he goes, no one's even asked about that all day today. Well, I'm asking how much for? $25 for the entire thing.
Yep. I
should have taken a picture. The entire back of my car was just filled with these things. They were still in the package. And I pair them up. I put them in like little groups of 3. And they sell for anywhere from $10 to $12 a group.
Yeah, to say within selling 5 items, you've already paid for all the rest of it and got plenty left over to keep going.
Yeah, but that's why you see people selling that stuff. If you go to an estate sale, and a lot of times estate sales will already price things at eBay prices or a little bit below. And you really got to talk them down off of that eBay thing.
Yeah.
But getting them in a group like that for a ridiculously low price, that's the way to do it. Don't ever buy them per piece. Or someone says, well, this one sold 2 years ago on eBay for, hey man, that was 2 years ago. Markets change.
Yep.
Beanie Babies, plush animals that aren't Disney or Warner Brothers. They're just plushies. If I get a bunch of them for a little bit of money, then I'll resell them. But I'm not looking to buy them per piece like a Star Wars collectible already in the box, never been opened type thing.
Right. Yeah. In fact, I've got five plush items sitting out on my table right now that I gotta. If I don't get to them tonight, just I need to get them listed so I can get them out of the way, and just gonna bundle them up and list them that way. So, but yeah, and then I've also got a garage sale I went to this summer or a few weeks ago, I guess. But anyway, he had a box of those little things. It wasn't all McDonald's toys or whatever. It was kind of a mix. There was some Disney in there and things like that. And I just bought the whole box from him. You know, you don't need to pick and choose through all that stuff. Uh, just if you can buy it in volume, it looks like it's got some decent stuff in it, then grab it if you can.
Yep. Oh, be careful of name brands and things that are priced at department store prices, because a lot of times you'll find like a pair of jeans and they'll still have the sales tag on it. And you're like, wow, these sold in the store for $169. You're not going to sell those jeans for $169. In fact, you're not going to sell those jeans for $100. You're probably going to get 40, maybe 50 for them if you're lucky.
Mm-hmm.
So you shouldn't pay more than $10 for them. In fact, I'd feel more comfortable with $5.
Right. Finding stuff with new tags is great because it does command a little bit more money for sure. But you've got to look at the whole piece. Like I find a lot of polo shirts, golf shirts, Under Armour, Adidas sometimes, occasionally a Nike that's still got tags on it. But I've also got to look at it and say, does it have any business logos on it? Because that can actually take your value down. It could take your value up depending on the logo, but it can take your value down because who wants to buy something with a business logo on it that they've never heard of before? It's not in their area. They don't work there, whatever. So it's like that, all taken into consideration when you're shopping for sure. I love the estate sales. You brought that up. I love estate sales myself. You can find, I know you've bought a lot of really nice vintage stuff, maybe even antique stuff. What is it? Your mugs that you buy.
Steins.
Your Steins, yes. Yeah, Chris is really good at finding deals on Steins. And when you go to estate sales, bundle it if you can to get a better price. They'll work with you. Most estate sales will work with you. They're there for one big reason is to make money, but number two, they're also got to get stuff out of there to make the client happy if they got stuff out of there. So yeah, they'll work with you anytime over. I did find a Stein down in Florida this week while we were down there. It's nothing big or anything like that. It's a Budweiser 2000 holiday Stein with the horses on it, still new in the box. And I think I paid up for like $8 for it or something like that. It might go for 20 if I get it going and get it listed. We'll see where it goes. But when I picked it up and looked at it and bought it, it's like, oh, yep, Chris, you'd be proud of me. I picked up a Stein today.
Yep.
We
normally on those Budweiser holiday Steins, I like to keep it right at between $3 and $5 because they're common.
Yeah,
I mean they're great to have, and a lot of people buy them, but they're pretty common. Although you've got yours with the box, so I'd start that right at $32.
32. That sounds like a good starting area.
Yeah,
so, Chris and I are talking about sourcing today. I'll wrap it up here as we get close to the end of our hour. But I was down in Florida last week on a family trip to take care of some family business, but we were able to have a day where we went out and we caught a couple of garage sales, and so the one place we were getting chatting with them and stuff, and I told them, I said, I bet I'm the only person, or I'm the person here today that has traveled the furthest to come to your yard sale. And we told them why we were there, and they were actually just right around the corner from my dad's property that we were taking care of. So picked off a few items there, and but we went to a lot. I like to go to consignment stores and antique stores, and especially when my wife and I are together, because it's just fun to do for us as kind of a get out together and do things. And but a lot of people, for reselling, consignment stores, antique stores are kind of a no-no, because a lot of the times you're looking at higher priced items. they're looking to get the retail value out of it too, in the booths and so forth. There is opportunities out there. You've got to take the time to shop it. Chris is talking about getting around to as many Walmarts and as many state, garage sales and stuff as you can. When you go out and sourcing, the consignment stores and antique stores will slow you down because you've got to really shop the store to find the deals. Just because they're in a consignment store or antique store doesn't mean that they're going to get higher end prices. They may be, a lot of the booths that we were at, because it's the holiday or getting into the holiday season, a lot of the booths that we were looking at were 20% off, 30% off. I think there was one that was even 50% off. Maybe they were trying to liquidate some stuff, so they bring some holiday stuff in. So there's always that to consider as well. But biggest tip, if you're going to go in consignment stores or antique stores, number one, if the person working or the owner is there and they're not real busy, make sure you're friendly with them, get to know them, ask their name, chat with them a little bit, tell them what you do, things like that. And a lot of times they'll point out stuff for you. They'll say, oh, well, somebody back in this booth has something that you might want to look at. Because the one shop we stopped in, she said, well, make sure to check out the fishing gear over on the other side over there, because I was looking for stuff for like a man's store type thing, fishing gear and sports equipment stuff. But anyway, the other tip, and that way it's a whole lot easier to deal with them if you're going to try to get if you find something that's like, oh, I'd love to buy this, but I just can't pay that much for it. They'll work with you, or they will call the person that is selling it if it's a consignment, and see if they can make a deal with that. But the second biggest tip for any of those types of stores, you got to dig. You got to get down on your knees. You got to see what's down on the floor, what's gotten knocked off, by other shoppers. It's fell behind something. The shop person has put a whole bunch of stuff in there and buried an item or two behind things. Look up. A lot of times there's stuff up on upper shelves. I think I told you about this one, Chris, on a message. I found it's a model of the USS Kitty Hawk aircraft carrier, new in the box, sealed plastic. He had it clear up on a top shelf. Originally was looking for $30 out of it. He had it marked down to $18, and I actually had to have her go get it for me so I could double check the price, because it was up high enough. I wasn't sure what I was looking at on the price tag. But yeah, it was $8. So I bought it for $18, and it should sell for anywhere between that $30 to $40 item, especially because it's new in box. So it's kind of a retail arbitrage type situation, but it's also just out fun having treasure hunting the treasure stores, because you can find a few good deals here and there. But like we've talked about, those are days that you want to make sure you've got time to do it, because really looking to pump up your store, get a bunch of inventory in, get things going. You got to go hit that in bulk situation as much as you can.
That's absolutely right. And keep this in mind. When people shop on eBay, Amazon, Mercari, Poshmark, whatever, they're looking for a deal. Otherwise, they'd be out at the retail outlets and buying whatever they want for whatever it's marked. But people are looking for a deal. So if you have a Le Creuset casserole pot and you're thinking, oh, I'm gonna charge all kinds of money for this, you're not, because no one's gonna buy it, because everyone who's selling Le Creuset online is selling it at about, I think, 70% of retail.
Probably, yeah.
And that's what people are looking for. So keep that in mind when you're pricing your items. Absolutely. Or when you're buying them too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah, don't get caught in what we were talking about at the beginning of the video with the chip on your shoulder, because you've sold a few oddball items here or there, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I can make that work for $40, and it's really only worth $30. So, all right. Well, I think it's about time to close it up today, Chris. Thanks again for putting the show together, and we'll see what we're rocking and rolling into for next week. weather is changing here. I'll probably be looking at snow here before too long. It's we went from really nice weather, and down in Florida was perfect, and right now it's gray, gloomy, and raining. So I'm gonna go. We're gonna go have some soup and sandwiches for supper to warm up a little bit.
That's great. All right, everyone. Thanks